Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam, Miss Norita. Thank you for joining us.
Waalaikumsalam, Madam.
Can I just have like you guys on your camera? At least I know that you guys are around and not
Please
on
turn
your
on your
bed.
camera, everyone.
Not on your bed.
The rest, please turn on your camera before we start our session.
Jania, Marissa, Ahmad Fahmi, Wan Muhammad. Thank you.
The rest, please be prepared and turn on your camera. Shahida, Alia, Fazlin, Alia Nafisa, Yus, please turn on your camera, and the rest, please turn on your camera.
Total number of students is how many?
Supposedly 80 students.
80.
Supposedly. Because we are combining 3 classes.
Okay. We have now like what, 50?
Around 50 students.
Okay.
No, I think 50 is including us, so around 48.
Muhammad menguap lah.
Sendawa, Madam.
Sedawa, okay.
Pandai
Dia beza sendawa dengan menguap.
Tak ada orang sendawa buka mulut.
Okay.
Alright,
We're
okay, ada
just
lagi
gonna
yang tak turn on.
start it off with like just getting to know you a little bit, okay? Just ice breaking a bit. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning. I am Miss Norita, and I've been teaching business analytics for ever since COVID. Okay, so that will be in 2019. Okay. But my background basically is I am the main lecturers to teach strategic marketing. Are you guys taking strategic marketing? Are you guys taking strategic marketing this sem? Not yet. Are you sure? You guys are not taking strategic marketing?
You
You guys are in
right?
semester, you are part 5, right? Hello? Are you all part 5 students or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Madam.
So you are not sure whether you are taking strategic marketing or not?
Yes, Madam.
Ada, Madam.
Okay. You are doing it with Dr. Yvonne?
Dr. Azlin.
Dr. Azlin, okay. So Dr. Azlin was my ex-student, one of my best students in strategic marketing because I taught her strategic marketing when she was a student. Okay, so usually marketing students, you will meet me at the end of your course because I'm the one that teaches strategic marketing. Okay, so I'm someone that students normally, the vibe is everybody is scared of Miss Norita. Okay, so maybe you guys are lucky that I'm not teaching you guys because I retired. But anyway, I still enjoy teaching. And as much as it is, I love business analytics because it deals with numbers. And I love interpreting numbers because there are lots of stories behind the numbers. And I hope you guys enjoy your business analytics class, or you are scared of it. So far, what were you guys feeling with this subject? Dania, okay. Juan Muhammad, okay. So everybody is okay. No one is not okay, right? Not going to scare you with anything, but the thing is, what you are looking into this coming few chapters, this is really the core part of business analytics. Okay, because it deals with analyzing the data that you have using statistical tools. Right. So for those of you who have background in statistics, it will be great because you understand the fundamental of statistics and you know the reason of why you are using those statistics. Right. But if you don't have, it is still okay because definitely your lecturers is going to teach you step by steps. Okay. Right. So now we have like what, 60 of you? And where's the 20? Still sleeping? Hope not.
No reply so
No
far.
reply. Okay. I know silence is golden. Do you know there's a songs about being silence is golden. But sometimes you need to be present to be acknowledged. And to learn, you must be present. Okay. Can you see my screen on the slides?
Yes.
Okay. Kita tazkirah sikit lah ya. Sebab sepatutnya pagi ni I have tadabbur Quran. Usually my morning session is tadabbur Quran. So my session is going on, but because I'm having you guys today, kita tahu menuntut ilmu tu adalah jihad. Bila dia jihad, kalau kita dalam perjalanan menuju pencarian ilmu, menuntut ilmu, katalah kita sampai ajal masa kita tengah menuntut ilmu, you mati syahid tau. So jangan main-main dengan berilmu. Be serious when you are mencari ilmu. Tu sebab orang kata nak cari ilmu tu adab kena ada. Respecting your lecturers, your teachers, itu adab. Okay. Kena ikhlas. Nawai tu pagi ni apa? Memang nak belajar kan? Memang nak menuntut ilmu, right? You're not coming in just for the sake of attendance. Kalau niat you saja nak dapat attendance penuh, you're not menuntut ilmu. Tu yang you boleh menghilang ke sana sini. Hilang fokus you sebab nawai tu dah lagi. And kena bersungguh-sungguh. Really into it. You must have a passion to really want it to learn. Even though the subject is difficult, make that as a motivation for you to want to learn it. then you'll be able to move forward and learn the subject matters. And please, Allah tu bagi kita akal, Allah tu bagi kita anggota badan, ada tangan, ada telinga, guna telinga untuk dengar, mata untuk melihat, tangan untuk mencatat. You need to write. You know, there was this study done, and this researcher have gone through analyzing students' performance among those who write when they learn and those who do not write anything when they are learning or in class. Because youngsters nowadays is what? You guys is basically on your laptop, you are basically clicking on things, but you are not writing. But if you write, you use your hand and pull on a pen and write, your brain cell, your neuron move better than you are typing on your keyboard. Because when you write, you actually putting in the efforts to write down all the words and things like that. But when you are using the keyboard, it is just triggering sensory sahaja, but dia tak ada indicator of what you are actually writing. That's why you don't remember things. Okay, so no matter what it is, yes, we are in technology. People use laptop, mobile phone, etc. to basically put things on. But at least when you are, like revising your things, okay, your notes and so on, please write, draw, do illustration of your things. You do mind mapping kind of things because that helps you to learn. Right? So sentiasalah amalkan adab-adab menuntut ilmu tu. Okay? Right. So now we have like what? 66 of you. Okay. It's okay. We are just going to proceed because I'm not going to wait. And for all of you, welcome to the class. Okay. On Business Analytics, Chapter 5. So what is Chapter 5? What do we have in Chapter 5? Anyone can guess? What is Chapter 5? What's your expectation of Chapter 5? How many of you do not have any references or textbooks or course info? Do you look at your course info this morning? None. Okay. How many of you love to go and see movies? What's the latest movies? Yang tengah hot?
Zootopia.
number 2.
Zootopia, okay. Did you all go and basically read and go and see the trailers or the review or, get some input before you actually watch the movie? You do, isn't it? But why don't you do the same thing with your subject matters? Before you go to your classes, if you don't have time, at least go and look at your course info and see like, okay, today we are going to learn about inferential statistic. And for those of you who have textbook, flip through the textbook and look at the introduction side, or at least read the summary, so that you prepare your brain, your mind, your heart and soul to basically anticipate what you're going to learn. Coming with that anticipation, you are more prepared compared to coming in like a zombie. I have no idea what you're going to learn. Okay? And zombie akan hilang. You akan hilang di kampung pisang. Okay? So please make sure that no matter what classes that you're going, please get yourself ready to attend the class. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at inferential statistic. So what is inferential statistic? So so what you're going to learn in chapter 5 is statistical inference, or sometimes we just call it inferential statistics. And so far, okay, what you have learned is to look at descriptive statistic in chapter 4, right? So chapter 4 is all about descriptive statistic, but chapter 5 onward, okay, 5, 6, 7, these are all inferential statistic, okay? And then when we look into statistical analysis like this, it is very important to know that you'll be embarking yourself into learning hypothesis testing. So you need to do hypothesis testing because you need to test assumption. Okay? And the hypothesis testing, you have different type of statistical tests. And you need to know which one to use. If you use the wrong one, you end up interpreting things wrongly. A small little things of not being able to identify which test to use, your whole analysis is wrong. And usually, when you are doing assignment 2, coming soon, you'll be doing your assignment 2, right? Students are very careless in assignment 2. Assignment 1 is okay because it's descriptive. But assignment 2, if you are careless, you'll be doing, okay, the wrong analysis and your whole things went wrong. You might fail your assignment 2. Okay, so you have to be very careful with knowing what types of tests to choose. Because different tests, different formula, okay? And for different, because the thing is, everything is connected. Okay, so you need to be like very careful on that. So descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. In your chapter 4, you talk about descriptive statistics. So what are some of the descriptive statistics that you're looking at? Chapter 4. Tell me what you have learned in chapter 4.
Mean, median, and mode.
Mean, median, and mode. Okay. Anything else? Mean, median, and mode.
Pivot table.
Pivot table is basically, okay, you are doing the table to look at the data, okay? But what are the statistics that you're looking at? Mean, median, mode, and?
Mean.
Huh?
Mean, median, mode, and mean.
Median, mode, mean. Hai, baru belajar dah lupa. Skewedness, kurtosis, standard deviation, variance. Aduh, macam mana ni? Because those things, they will come back in your inferential statistic. Okay? Although it is descriptive, but they will still come back. So what is descriptive statistic? Okay, you talk about things whereby you describe things. You are merely describing your data. That's it. Okay, it's just like describing, if I'm to describe Shahida, I'm purely describing you, of who you are, your features that I can see as being presented. But what underlying it, okay, I have no idea. And when you look at that, data, it is that the first thing that you do is always describing your data as it is. But there are depth into the data, which is something that you need to analyze further. But descriptive statistic basically give you some tables, some mean, median, mode, standard deviations, skewedness, those kind of things, and then you're able to present it in the forms of table, or it can be in the form of graph. Okay, you might be doing histogram kind of things. Okay, now, as if you are to look at in your surrounding, okay, especially during COVID time, we have a lots of descriptive statistic being thrown to us. Daily casualty, you talk about death, you talk about cases, you talk about recovery, you talk about, okay, cases within each different territory, things like that. Purely describing the situations, and they present it in the forms of graphic, okay? It can be in numbers, numerical things, or it can be in the forms of you put in some visual to present it. Very much descriptive. So as far as this goes, okay, what you have is you'll be looking at numbers. So okay, in chapter 2, you learn about frequency, right? Count, percentage. It is included dalam descriptive as well. Okay, so it's very common for us to look at descriptive statistic. Laymen look at descriptive statistic. Every time you open up any information, you don't look at inferential statistic. You look at descriptive statistic, because normal people, your moms, your dads, your grandma, and so on, what they want to know is, like what they see on the surface, but they don't want to dwell on what is underlying it. Okay, so people just look at the numbers, and then they try to make some sort of assumption. Now, you have to be very careful, because with descriptive statistic, it describes things, it gives you numbers and so on. These are another examples of things that you can be looking at. Purchase profile of consumer. They describe here what are the things that people buy, how many people buy this thing, okay, what is the average amount of income being spent to purchase things and so on. Describing, okay? But the problem with us is we always try to make generalization from descriptive. And that is very much wrong, because descriptive statistics do not allow us to generalize. Kita tak boleh conclude tak boleh kat situ. Tak boleh using that numbers and say that, okay, it represents the population. Cannot. And this is the part where you need to look at inferential statistic. Because inferential statistic allows you to make inferences from your sample. You all belajar kan pasal sample and population, right? Okay. Why do we do sampling? Why we pick sample and we don't look at population? What are the reason? Putri. Tak ada suara lah. Tutup
Yeah, madam.
Okay. Why do we refer to sample instead of using population?
Maybe based on the time saving, because sample is more smaller than the population.
Okay. Because, okay, one of it is time consuming, it is costly, right? So we take sample, but then the sample that you took, it have to be representative enough to the population. If I'm to study, okay, if let's say I want to look at performance of marketing students part 5, okay, with respect to your business analytic results, do I take the 80 of you, or would it be enough for me to just take 20 of you and to represent that 80? Can the 20 represent the 80? Dekat sini yang you kena figure out what is the appropriate sample size. Okay? What are the rules of thumb in selecting your sample? Semua tu kena ambil kira. Okay? And this is something that you learn in your marketing research class in semester 4, isn't it? Hello? Semester 4 marketing research. You all deal with sampling, right?
Yes.
And you do hypothesis testing on your sample. You use SPSS instead of what you're using now, Excel. Okay. So inferential statistic is basically allows you to do things, okay, that give you depth to your study or to your research work that you are doing, where it takes the sample to represent the population. So the difference between inferential statistics and descriptive statistics is inferential statistic allows you to make inferences, make conclusion, make generalization about the population from the data that you took from the sample. Okay, so basically what are some of the things that you do is you do hypothesis tests. So now when we talk about hypothesis tests, you test to compare, you test to relate, and to predict. That's why you end up with different types of tests. Okay, and your results are usually in the form of statistical value sahaja. Kita tak boleh nak letak dia dalam bentuk diagram or charts kind of things because they are not descriptive statistic. Okay, right. These are some examples of how inferential statistics being used. People look at trend, okay, like this. Okay, so trend is something that you learn in chapter 7 because you are trying to predict what's the future outcomes going to be. So you look at certain trend across, okay, over time, so you can see like what's going to happen. So this is the examples of usage of e-wallet, okay, and you'll be also looking at usage of e-wallet with respects to finding out like what are some of the factors that influence the rate of usage of e-wallet. So this is looking at relationships. So this is considered as what kind of hypothesis testing would you do? Batin, what kind of analysis if you're looking at usage of e-wallet, looking at this? You're dah belajar semester 5, hello. Semester 4. Marketing Research dengan Dr. Diana ke? Who do you have for Marketing Research? Dr. Amina. Dr. Amina. Oh my God. If you are going to give me silent treatment, I'm going to turn off the whole session. Yes,
Dr. Amina.
Dr. Amina. Okay. So if you are to do analysis, what kind of analysis would you do for this one? Usage of e-wallet. Huh?
Descriptive.
What?
Descriptive.
If you have this theoretical framework, okay, and looking at factors, okay, influencing the usage of e-wallet, what types of analysis yang you akan buat? Alia apa tak nampak nama dia. Azrul?
I guess it will be
Analysis. Jangan krik-krik tau korang.
Ada.
Ah,
Is that a
Putri.
quantitative analysis?
Apa dia?
Is that a quantitative analysis?
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna kill you all if I'm with you guys now. Okay, I'm gonna ask you all to jump from the building. Quantitative and quantitative research, qualitative research are the type of research that we do. Quantitative means you are doing research based on, you are looking at numbers, okay, of responses from people, okay, you are looking at quantity of responses, okay, which is very much quantifying. But if you look at another type of research, it is very much qualitative. Qualitative means you are not looking at numbers. You are looking at the depth of the answers from very few people. Okay, so we will do focus group. Contoh focus group. You tanya mungkin dalam 8 orang, tapi you dapat dia punya underlying reasoning, like assumption and whatever not. Tetapi daripada the depth of your interview, okay, of the conversation dengan your focus group member. That is qualitative. But then when you talk about quantitative, you need to have volumes of responses of people answering to a similar questions. Okay, yang itu yang you buat survey. Survey is just doing a survey is your tools that you use to conduct, okay, so that you can collect data. Kalau qualitative, you cuma duduk dengan a group of 8 people maybe, and then you throw in question and ask and keep on asking and asking until you get what you want. Okay, but qualitative kadang-kadang dia tak representative enough sebab dia punya number tu tak banyak. So sometimes what we do in research is daripada kuali, kita nak justifikan, kita nak generalizekan to the whole Malaysian katakan. Then you buatlah research quantitative. Okay, and then when you are doing your research, if let's say in this case usage of e-wallet, and you need to figure out like what are the factors that influence the usage of e-wallet. So this, you are trying to figure out factors, so many different factors influencing your usage. Kalau you nak test on that, you want to find out about that situations, what kind of statistic that you use. Statistical analysis yang you guna, you akan guna multiple regression. Hello, you all belajar kan dekat marketing research class? Kesian lecturer you, Dr. Amina. Ajar satu masa part 4, apa you belajar masa part 4 you buang. Hello, ilmu yang belajar tu tak adanya membazir Bring into your future, which is now. Guna ilmu yang situ dalam sekarang. Because the only difference is what? It is basically the tools that you are using. When you are doing marketing research, lecturer you ajar you guna SPSS. Tetapi sekarang ni you are using Excel. But the underlying of all your knowledge about doing statistical analysis is still the same. Tang mana yang you tak faham, right? Which part that you don't understand with respect to what you are learning now and what you have learned in semester 4? The things are the same. In semester 4, when you are doing marketing research, the moments your lecturer teaches you about using SPSS to do analysis, okay, those analysis that you have done, definitely your lecturer will teach you on regression, right? Right? Shagida? Marisa, right? So it is very much analyzing regression. So you might be doing linear regression, you might be doing multiple regression, and then profile of respondent apa semua itu jelah descriptive analysis. So benda tu you dah belajar, cuma you guna software SPSS. And now is you are doing the same thing guna software Excel. Why? Why not use SPSS? Why use Excel? Dah klik. Farah Christina.
Because we want to visualize the data.
SPSS pun you boleh visualize data. Dah lupa lah tu. Chapter 1. In chapter 1, definitely your lecturer will tell you like, okay, we are using Excel. Okay, there are so many different tools software that you can use. You have Minitab, you have SAS, you have SPSS, you have Excel, and so on. Out of all these software tools that you can use to analyze data, most of them are basically you have to pay for the license. Minitab and so on, SAS, Minitab, SPSS, semua ni you kena ada license, you kena bayar. Yang free to Excel. Because Excel comes with your Microsoft. The moment you buy a laptop or things of computers, benda tu datang sekali. So you don't have to go and buy your SPSS punya software. Then you use Excel. Because using Excel, it is free. And it still gives you the same result. The output that you get from your using SPSS dengan output yang when you use Excel is the same output. Format dia sama je. It's a matter of using your tools. Okay, so what you're doing here is you buat multiple regressions to see how all those different factors influence usage of e-wallet. So these are all inferential statistics. So far, do you understand what I'm trying to say to you?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Ilmu yang you belajar in semester 4, and then when you are doing your BTM yang tu, okay. BTM, marketing research and business analytics, semua berkait. So generally, you are supposed to be able to do this course because everything is so related. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, because we want to move into inferential statistics, it is very common for us to be looking at descriptive statistics. These are descriptive statistics, okay? And this is based on your pivot table, okay? So you have, okay, for instance, if let's say you have a groups of people, male and female, and then you have two choice of breakfast. Lapar kan sekarang? Lapar tak? Tak lapar? Roti canai with eggs. Or it can be kaya toast with eggs. Kedai mamak ataupun kedai kopitiam. Right? Now, if based on descriptive data, okay, what you have here is you have 30 male preferring roti canai with eggs, whereas 20 of the of the male prefer kaya toast with eggs. Whereas for female, you have like 20 of them prefer roti canai and 30 of them prefer kaya toast. On surface, if you are to look at that, what can you say? What can you say? What can you say? Azrul.
I can say male prefer more channel with egg based on this.
What?
I can say male prefer more channel with egg.
Okay. So on surface, okay, based on your descriptive statistic, you seems to think that male prefer roti canai, while female tends to prefer kaya toast. Betul? Can you make that conclusion? Can you make the conclusion and says that preference for breakfast varies between the male and the female? Berbeza. Pilihan makanan breakfast, okay, antara lelaki dan perempuan adalah berbeza. Boleh tak make assumption tu? You boleh assume tak benda tu? Kalau based on descriptive. Tak boleh. You cuma boleh cakap, okay, lelaki, okay, male eats more roti canai with eggs, okay, whereas for female they eat more kaya toast with egg. Itu saja. You boleh describe saja. Tapi you cannot generalize. It is wrong to generalize descriptive statistic. But can you make it possible and say that there is a truth in your assumption that preference of breakfast varies between males and female? Boleh. Dekat sini yang you buat testing of your assumption. Sebab tadi you assume what? Azrul, you are saying male prefer roti canai, female prefer kaya toast. So you are assuming that preference of breakfast varies between males and female. Itu ialah apa yang you assume. Tetapi it is not true yet. Assumption is basically statement yang you think it is going to be true, but it is not tested to be true yet. You're gonna test. And this is where you do statistical tests. You conduct inferential statistical tests. And in this case, Kalau based on data yang ini, the test that you are going to use is what we call chi-square test of independence. Pernah dengar chi-square test? Pernah dengar chi-square test kan? Why we use chi-square test in this case? It's because the data is categorical, or what we call nominal scale. Remember your nominal scale? Do you still remember the different types of scale that you have? You have what? Muhammad.
Ordinal.
Nasir Amirul. Likert scale. Likert scale. Likert scale fall under which types of, okay, basically you have 4 types of scale. You have nominal. Okay?
Ratio.
Ordinal.
Interval.
Interval
Ratio.
ratio. Okay. Out of this, right? The data that you collected and whereby you can find the mean, okay, yang itu very much considered as ratio scale. Okay, ratio scale boleh, okay, or interval scale where you use Likert scale pun boleh, right? But if you look at nominal scale and ordinal scale, they're considered as non-continuous data because they are because when you talk about data, ada data yang continuous, ada data yang non-continuous. Yang non-continuous tu yang kita panggil nominal data lah. Okay, dia tahu, you know, it is basically very categorical. Right? Right. So all these different types of skills you need to understand because it will influence your choice of test. Kena faham. Okay? Now, so you might be doing chi-square test in this case. And another examples, okay? Let's say you want to look at the average score for your exam amongst the males and female students, and you find that the average for male is 75, for female is 72.5. 75 and 72.5, beza ke tidak? Between males and female. Is there any significant difference between the boys and the girls? Can we say that the boys are better than the girls? Okay. Yang ini kita kena test. So you need to test that so-called assumption yang you nak buat tu. Okay. So this is where you conduct statistical tests, compare mean. Okay. So far, boleh Sebab yang ini nanti you akan masuk tau kepada different types of tests of hypothesis. Because for mean alone, there are a few. Right? So these are basically, I'm trying to tell you like a lot of descriptive statistics yang you kena test sebab you cannot make generalization from descriptive. It need to be tested dalam bentuk inferential statistic. Right? Right. So what is hypothesis testing then? A hypothesis testing is basically you are trying to investigate or you wanted to find out, do you have enough evidence to support your assumption? Macam tadilah kita assume, okay, male's preference for roti canai, okay, more than the female. So itu adalah satu assumption. Adakah assumption itu benar? Then you test. Okay, so you test your hypothesis. So hypothesis is basically something that you want to prove it to be true. How true is your assumption? So dia adalah satu statement that is a statement that indicates what you are trying to study. Okay, because you want to find out the truth behind the data. Okay, so some of the assumptions that you make can be about differences. Yang about differences ni yang kat sini yang kita belajar testing good of mean. Okay, so your first part of your analysis is testing of means to see the differences of the means. Okay, it can also be you are testing to look at association. This is where you do correlation. You might also be testing on a hypothesis that look at relationship, which is regression. It can be linear regression, it can be multiple regression, it can be binomial, binary regressions and so on. Dia bergantung pada data apa yang you ada. Okay, right. So in order to do hypothesis testing, it is very important for us to know what is your null hypothesis and what is your alternative hypothesis. Okay, now testing of your hypothesis follow certain steps, and this is something that you need to go through for all your hypothesis testing. Tak kira lah you buat correlation ke, you buat regression ke, you buat compare, you are doing t-test ke or z-test ke, step dia sama. Cuma formula mana nak guna tu berbeza. Okay? So what is null hypothesis and what is alternative hypothesis? Any idea? Dah belajar dalam marketing research ya? Alternative hypothesis is what? Null hypothesis is what?
Null is rejected.
Null is rejected. Okay. Betul ke? Null is rejected. Boleh je kita fail to reject. Specifically, what is null hypothesis and what is alternative hypothesis?
Null, there is no relationship between the variables.
Okay. Itu kalau you kaji relationship. In general terms, what it means by a null hypothesis and an alternative hypothesis.
No significant relationship.
No significant relationship. Masih lagi bercerita pasal relationship. Okay. I'm going to release you from your misery. A null hypothesis and an alternative hypothesis. Okay, alternative hypothesis is the statement that you wanted to test. Apa yang you nak kaji. Okay, for example, just now, yang pasal makan breakfast tu. You wanted to find out if the choice of breakfast varies among male and female. Itu yang you nak tahu. Adakah, okay, preference for breakfast choice varies between males and female? Itu yang you nak kaji. Itulah alternative hypothesis you. And null hypothesis is your statement of status quo. Kenapa kita kata statement of status quo? Dia adalah satu statement yang contradict to what you wanted to test. Okay, so if you are looking at the situation just now, okay, when we talk about is there, okay, choice of breakfast varies between gender, then status quo ialah choice of breakfast do not varies. Dia akan the no statement. It's very much the no statement. Okay. So same thing with just now yang e-wallet tadi lah. You nak test apa? Adakah usage of e-wallets being influenced by the 3 factors? Okay. Does the 3 factors influence your usage? So your H alternative adalah itu. Factors influencing usage. Status quo, factors do not influence the usage. So it's all the status quo, okay, your null hypothesis is always the statement that is basically where you look at it as a no statement. That's why they panggil null hypothesis, because it's a no. Okay, alternative statements is basically the statement that you wanted to test on. Okay, so what are the steps in hypothesis testing? The crucial one is to formulate your hypothesis. It's very important. Why am I saying that formulating hypothesis is important? Because if you do not know what is your hypothesis, okay, and you stated it wrongly, you akan tersalah ambil choice of statistic to be tested. You end up with rejecting or fail to reject the wrong hypothesis. Just about first step is formulating your hypothesis is very crucial. Right? And you will learn about formulating hypothesis in your next lecture, because I'm not going to discuss on that. If I'm discussing very further, then it become like your next lesson. Okay, but I'm just give you a brief on what are the steps. Okay, and then once you know your hypothesis, you need to select your level of significance. Now, level of significance for social sciences studies is usually 5% to 10%. Level of significance. Okay, so level of significance, what it means is it is likelihood to reject H null. In a way, you are trying to make your H alternative to be true. Okay. Now, significant levels, okay, if I say, okay, 5% significant level. So alpha adalah 5%, which is 0.05 lah. Now, the opposite of level of significance is confidence level, which is beta. So confidence level is 1 minus alpha. So if let's say people give you the confidence level of analyzing, okay, normally when you wanted to test any statistical test, they will tell you your significant level. But sometimes dia tak mention pun. Kalau tak mention, you make assumption 5%. Tak salah. Kalau you nak buat assumption 10% pun tak salah. Okay, because that's the general level of significance. Okay, but sometimes we don't give you the level of significance, tetapi we give you confidence level. Okay, and we say confidence level is 95% or 90%. So what it means here, 95%, okay, 95% confidence. Significant level means 5%. Now, when you are doing statistical analysis here, the one that you are looking at is you reject H null. When you reject H null, it means that H alternative is true. If you fail to reject H null, it means that your alternative is not true. Okay. So what you're looking here is, bila kita kata level of significance tu, we are trying to say that we are confident in a way, okay? Whatever you are testing, error dia punya, okay, because significant, you punya level of significance is 5%, you are basically in a way saying that 5% je error. 5% tu je yang tak betul. Apa yang you nak kaji tu. 95% tu betul. Because when we read your analysis, kita akan baca daripada reject or fail to reject H null. Itu cara statistik. Tetapi from a, you know, like a more layman ways of looking at it is you are basically saying that you are 95% sure apa yang you kaji tu adalah betul. Itu layman punya cara nak sampaikan untuk you faham tau. Tetapi dalam penulisan, you need to write reject or fail to reject H null. You tak boleh tu cakap reject, okay, reject or atau accept H alternative, tak boleh. The cara penulisan dia is looking at your H null. Itu kena be clear. Okay? So in a way, when you look at your level of significance, kalau dia ialah 5%, you sebenarnya yakin, okay, you are basically feel that your assumption tu adalah betul, adalah true, with only 5% error. Because bila, when we are doing any analysis or any study, kita tak boleh 100% confident yang benda tu adalah betul. Dia mesti ada error. Because the data that we collect, bukannya semua responden tu jawab dengan betul. SU4 student, when you fill in your SU4, did you take your responses truthfully or asal isi je dah, baca pun tidak the statement? You main tanda je, betul tak? Betul ke tak betul?
Betul.
How many you actually make the effort to read and truthfully think it over before you give the marks on your SU4? Tak ada kan? Jarang dah orang baca. Sebab dia dah lebih kurang sama je. Asking the same question every semester for every subject. So in the end, you just main letak je. Tapi is that true? Does it really reflect what the reality is? So we always have room and say that is this 5% or 10% not true to it. Itu sebab kita kata adalah error dekat dalam research tu. Research you tak perfect. It can be not perfect because mungkin, coming from sample yang salah you ambil, ataupun timing of you collect data tak betul. So orang tu menjawab, lepas orang tu baru naik angin dengan pensyarah dia. Memang result jadi lain lah. Cuba kalau masa tu dia tengah suka dengan lecture tu, lecture pun keluarkan survey kata, okay, do your SU4 on me now. Masa tu lecturer baru belanja makan besar-besar. Semua orang dibagi hadiah. Masa tu SU4 tinggi lah sikit kot lah. Okay. But what we are saying here is there are so many reasons that can cause the data that you collect might not be true representative of the population. So we always have this 5% to 10% of possibility of error. but we are confident that 90 to 95% confident that it is true in terms of the research yang you buat tu, the analysis yang you buat tu, it is 90% to 95% correct. Itu maksud dia. Right? Now, why you need to have that level of significance? Sebab you will read that level of significance when you are comparing the statistical value. Perlukan nilai tu. Okay? And then once you know you formulate your hypothesis and your level of significance, you can look at which test to use. And remember, we have so many different tests. You have tests to compare, tests to look at association, tests that look at relationships, semua tu ada. Okay, so you need to know like which test to use, and then make your decisions based on, once you have done your test, you will need to make a decisions on whether to reject or fail to reject your null hypothesis, and then make a conclusions out of your analysis, and then draw a conclusion. And sometimes kalau marketing, kita suka towards the end, not only that you make the decisions and come up with a conclusion, you will also put in some implications of it. So because normally all this analysis, it will brings you into making a business decision. So with business decision, you must see other some recommendation, isn't it? So, Kaedah buat apa you buat study? Kalau tak ada towards the end, what you going to use the data for? Right? Okay, so types of hypothesis testing. So far, okay lagi ya? Tak boring ke? Dah boring dah? Are you okay with things?
Okay.
All right. Now, in chapter 5, you'll be looking at tests to compare mean. Where does your means come from? Your data, you find your average, right? That's your mean. So it means that you have to look at your mean. Okay? So it means that your data adalah data coming from what kind of scale? Rasa-rasanya scale apa yang boleh guna? Mean. Interval and ratio scale. Yang tu je boleh dapat mean. You know, your Likert scale, you boleh dapat mean. Okay, if you ask people in terms of what is your salary, and then you kumpul-kumpulkan orang ni salary 10,000, yang ni 7,000, yang ni 8,000, you find out the average. So that is ratio data. Okay, so what you're looking at is the mean value. Okay, so in terms of mean, test to compare mean, it will be one sample, it can be two sample, it can be more than two sample. Meaning what? One samples mean you compare the mean to a given standard. Itu one sample. Maksudnya, contoh if let's say you are looking at the average number of hours that you students sleep on average. If let's say your average, okay, from the sample that you collect and you find the average, and the average hours is somewhere like 4 hours. Korang tidur 4 jam je kan? Most of the time korang main handphone kan? Ke tak? Ke study? Okay, but the average, okay, for students based on, let's say, Kementerian Pendidikan, okay, mengatakan bahawa on average siswa-siswi sleep for about 5 hours. Tapi budak marketing kita buat average dia, okay, 4 jam. So now what we are doing is kita nak tengok adakah, right, are the average of the sleeping hours for the marketing students way off from the standard, or it is not that far from the standard. Okay, so you are comparing average from the data to the average of a given standard. Itu adalah one sample. Sebab data tu datang daripada sample of the marketing student. Satu sample je. But then there are, okay, you have to be careful. One sample, dia ada keadaan one tail or two tail, or it can be proportion. Okay, and when you say one tail, dia can be upper tail or lower tail. Sudah, apa benda pula? Pernah belajar tak upper tail, lower tail, right tail, left tail? Dekat mana you nampak upper tail, lower tail? Skewedness. You know your skewedness? Your bell curve, right? Some of, okay, when you look at your skewedness, kan dia ada kadang-kadang skewed to the left, skewed to the right. Ingat ke tak ingat? Damia?
Yes.
Okay. And okay, so knowing your tail is important. If it's one tail right or one tail left, formula lain. Walaupun dia one sample test. One tail. Tapi ada beza antara upper tail dengan lower tail. Dan ada beza untuk yang two tail. Bila two tail, you kena tengok which side of the tail. Okay? And then, you ada juga keadaan dia bagi proportion, means percentage of the sample. Okay, so you kena bezakan bila you nak guna which one. Okay, that will be covered in your next lesson. Okay, and itu one sample, but sometimes you end up with two samples. Two samples mean data you adalah data daripada two groups of responses. Contoh tadi itulah male and female. You are comparing the male and the female. Dia daripada dua sampel. Okay? Now, when you have two groups of responses, you need to figure out, are those sample independent or are they dependent? Ada beza. Kalau dependent, lain pula analisis dia. Kalau independent, lain pula dia punya analisis. So what is independent sample? What is dependent sample? Kena faham. Independent sample is what? Sampel ni dengan sampel ni tak berkait. Male and female, okay, terkait ke tak? If you are looking at data, no. But if I'm to look at dependent, okay, I akan look at contoh, okay, sleeping hours for marketing students, okay, masa that same group, contohnya, okay, all the marketing students, your hours of sleep, masa weekday dengan weekend, sampel yang sama. Diri you sendiri juga. It's the same group juga. Cuma data dia lain waktu. but it's still the same sample. So that is dependent. Or sometimes we call it pair sample. Lepas tu kena fikir pula lagi. Aduh, two sample. Kadang-kadang you end up dengan more than two sample. You compare mean of more than two sample. For instance, you want to look at the mean of average income among the three different race in Malaysia. Adakah average income Bumi Putra, okay, the Bumi Putra, for example, okay, Malay, and then the Malay, the Chinese, and the Indian. Are they the same or are they different? Tiga group. So you akan collect data, income orang Melayu, income orang India, income orang China, find the mean, and then compare the mean. Are they different, significantly different or not? Itu adalah ANOVA test. You kena guna analysis of variance. So in general, chapter 5, you ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different types of tests yang you kena faham. Right? Now, in chapter 5 as well, there ada chi-square test. This is actually covered in chapter 5. Last sekali, chi-square test. To me, why I put it together dalam chapter 6, because chi-square test, dia test relationship juga. Cuma the relationship in such a way is it is looking at association. Ada kaitan atau tidak? Okay, because we are not looking at pure relationship where you're looking at whether something influence something or not. Yang itu adalah dalam regression dengan correlation. Okay, chi-square test ni is still also association or okay. Cuma yang ini isu dia adalah data you adalah data nominal. Correlation pun look at relationship, okay, association. Cuma yang ini adalah data berbentuk ratio. Nominal data, ratio data, ratio data. Itu beza dia. Okay, so in a way you have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 different types of analysis that you have to do. Okay. Rasa-rasa boleh hadap tak dari chapter 5 and 6 ni? Okay ke tak okay ni? Are you ready to it for it? I hope all by group you kena ready lah. Okay. Now, a quick guide on choosing which statistic test to use. How do you decide? First thing that you need to look at is check out your data. Are they categorical data or are they continuous data? Sometimes we call this categorical data or non-continuous data. Okay, yang tadi saya sebut tadi lah. Sebab yang ni akan tell you like which test to use. Dia akan ada impact juga. Sample. Remember just now we say ada mungkin 1 sample, mungkin 2 sample, mungkin 3 sample. Okay, so you need to be looking at how many samples. And you also need to look at what is your purpose. What kind of purpose of analysis that you wanted to do? You nak compare mean ke? You nak look at association ke? You nak look at relationship? Dia ada beza. If you're able to answer this thing, you know where it is, you akan tahu which test to use. If let's say, okay, you are looking at nominal data. Sasa you dah tahu dah, oh tu chi-square, you tak boleh buat guna test lain. Ini mesti chi-square test. Okay. Kalau katalah it happen to be like comparing two groups of people, you dah tahu dah. Ini compare two group, kalau two group you akan guna apa? Test apa? It can be paired sample ataupun independent two sample. Tapi kena tengoklah sama ada dia independent ke dependent ke. Purpose, definitely. Nak buat regression ke, you nak buat compare mean ke, kena tahu. Okay. Now, there is a website that you can actually look at. Okay. It's in your notes, so you can refer to this professor. Okay. She'll explain to you like examples of things, but I can show you briefly on what it means by the different types of tests. Okay. Bear with me. This is the last part of things. Okay. Right. So type of tests. One sample test. If let's say your purpose is to compare mean of a sample to a known or a hypothesized value. Yang ini yang kita kata tadi, yang standard value tadi tu. Yang kita kata Kementerian Pendidikan kata on average siswa tidur dalam 5 jam. Itu adalah standard. It's a hypothesized known value. Okay. Cuma bila you try to compare to adakah budak marketing dekat Puncak Alam tu tidur within that 5 hours or not, then you are looking at one sample test, compare mean. Because you are comparing mean of student marketing Puncak Alam dengan standard yang diberi oleh kementerian. Okay. So you have some examples here as well. Okay. And then two sample tests, independent. Okay. It can be, for example, you wanted to compare the means on income of men and women. Okay. And they are independent group because men dengan women ni dia kan tak related. Okay. It's a different groups of data. But you can be also looking at situations where you are looking at two sample, but then these are two sample paired, or we call it dependent. For example, you are looking at situations of before and after comparison, because you akan tengok pada same groups of sample, cuma benda dia adalah you are looking at the sample punya result sebelum dan selepas dia ambil certain drug. Sample dia sample yang sama. Okay. And then you might be looking at ANOVA, test of differences between 3 or more groups. Okay. We talk about the difference macam tadi, okay, Malay, Chinese, Indian, and so on. You are looking at average of 3 different groups. So you'll be using ANOVA. And chi-square test. Okay, we talked about it earlier on. And then you have correlations. Now, correlations basically try to explain some sort of correlations or association between a certain factors or certain situations to a certain situation. For example, you talk about employee satisfaction. Ada tak terkait dengan salary? Is it like people with better salaries are more satisfied or not? Okay, so these are the things you need to look at whether they are related or not. Okay, so you might be looking at the correlations, and then when we look at correlations, kita kata perfect correlation or association if it's one is perfect. So, and that relationship can be positive or it can be negative. Okay, but be very careful with correlations because sometimes we tend to make a statement of saying that correlation tu ialah cause and effect. Sedangkan correlation dia bukan cause and effect. Dia cuma ada kaitan. Contohlah musim-musim hujan ni kan. Normally if you, okay, orang tua-tua kata, hujan hari Jumaat. Apa orang tua kata hari Jumaat kalau hujan hari Jumaat? Ha? Apa orang tua selalu cakap hujan hari Jumaat? Inas? Kalau hujan hari Jumaat apa petanda dia?
Waktu mustajab doa.
Rahmat. Oh, lagi? Rezeki ni. Okay. Kalau hujan turun hari Jumaat, memanglah kita kata hujan tu rahmat. So berdoalah banyak-banyak. Cuma orang kata, kalau hujan hari Jumaat, mesti lebat, mesti banjir. Jumaat aja mesti lebat, mesti banjir. So ada kaitan ke antara hari Jumaat tu dengan hujan? Kita rasa ada kaitan lah kan. Kita rasa ada kaitan. Tapi kita tak cakap disebabkan hari Jumaat, maka hujan akan lebat. Kita tak boleh cakap macam tu. We are not saying that because it is Friday, therefore the rain is heavy. Tak boleh. But we can say that adalah biasa lah, you know, kalau hari Jumaat hujan tu, lebat lah tu. Ada terkait, tapi kita tak kata Jumaat tu menyebabkan hujan. Samalah katak panggil hujan kan. Hujan dulu ke katak panggil dulu? Ada kaitan tak antara katak, bunyi katak dengan hujan? Katak berbunyi maksudnya hujan nak turun. Orang kata, tapi tak adalah kajian dibuat lagi. Tapi orang tua-tua kata, orang tua-tua mana banyak kata-kata dia. Cuma assumption dia you kena test lah. Tetapi kita tak boleh katakan benda tu is a cause and effect situation. But if you want to look at something which is affecting something, okay, or influencing something, yang ini yang kita pergi kepada regression. You talk about linear regression. Linear regression look at one-to-one kind of relationships. One is causing another one. So one, okay, so your dependent variables depends on your independent variables. Okay, usage of e-wallet depend on a numbers of factors. That is multiple. Tetapi kalau you are looking at linear regression, it's only one-to-one. For example, okay, you talk about demand and supply. Econ kan, biasa kan belajar econ? Price go down, demand jadi apa?
Increase.
Demand increase. Tapi ada conditions kan. Kalau kita belajar, dia ada pula moderating dia. Kalau belajar lah. It depends on what kind of product. It is inferior goods or not. Dia ada beza. That it will affect your elasticity of demand. Okay. But generally what we are saying here is you have all these different types of tests. You need to know when to use those different types of tests. And in order for you to do that, you need to understand on the steps. Kena faham. Whatever given scenario, you need to understand what types of tests that you are doing. Tapi sebelum tu kena tahulah macam mana nak tulis hypothesis you. Kena tahu what is your significant level. And then nak decide on the test that you want to use, you kena tahu adakah dia nominal data ke, tak nominal data ke, okay, continuous data kind of things, you need to look at it, adakah dia, what kind of sample, one sample, two sample, adakah sample dia dependent atau independent. And then you'll be looking at your purpose. Are you looking at compare mean, atau are you looking at associations? Are you looking at influences or relationship? Kena tahu yang tu. Okay, so basically that's the overview of chapter 5. Okay, so that's it for today.
Okay, thank you, Miss Narita. Maybe we can open for any Q&A session from the students. Do you have any question to ask?
Very smart student, no question.
But if let's say everything is good, please share your thumbs up here. We need to know your feedback and also your understanding level. If everything is good, please share your thumbs up. Okay, so we assume all of you is clear and understand on our today's topic. So before we proceed for the photo session with Miss Norita, I would like to say thank you for your knowledge sharing to all the students here, which is the student is from BA 270 and marketing student lah, right? So we have 3 class here, class 5B, 5F and also E. And hopefully that all of you receive all the beneficial knowledge from Miss Norita, and we really appreciate Miss Norita time and also effort to help the student to understand the topic, and may Allah reward your kindness and also bless you always. Okay, thanks for all your sharing and also your contribution. Actually, when I sharing the notes to all students here, it was given from Miss Norita actually. Okay, so that's why I'm always tell to my student, we are quite lucky because we have very committed and also quite excellent former lecturer to help us always, even though she already retired from our university. Okay, so hopefully all of you also can utilize and also share this knowledge to your next journey. Okay, all right, so can we proceed for the photo session? Hopefully all of you can turn on your camera. Miss Norita, maybe you have anything to say to the student?
Okay.
Any message?
Basically, what I want you all to basically put in your heart and soul and your mind is learning is basically continuous. You do not stop learning, okay? And keep on enhancing yourself with knowledge, because the more that you learn something, the more you know that you do not know. Okay? So there is always more things to learn. And whatever learning that you have with you, apply it, share it, and hopefully, okay, it brings benefits to people. Ilmu tak boleh kedekut. Kena share. Dan semoga, okay, bila kita menuntut ilmu tu, kita betul-betul niatkan betul-betul nak belajar. Semoga dia jadi ibadah kita. Kerana menuntut ilmu tu adalah jalan yang antara jalan yang ringkas untuk ke syurga kalau kita ada ilmu. Okay, and with that, I would like to thank all of you for sharing your time with me. At least today, I am not that bored at home. Orang pencen ni dia boring tau, duduk lama-lama, masa tu banyak sangat. That's why I can update my notes and share it with Dr. Ain. So I've been updating my notes ever since I retired. So last semester was a different notes, and this semester was slightly a different notes because I have nothing else to do. Because I enjoy teaching. I enjoy teaching, really. Okay, so if you wanted to, like personally asking for informations or understanding things that you might not understand. I don't mind helping out. Okay, you can ask me. I'm fine. I'm okay with it. Okay. And if you happen to stay around in the areas of Subang Jaya, you are most welcome to come and see me personally because I stay in Subang Jaya SS18. So I used to have students coming to my house. I have no problem with students coming to my house. I have students staying overnight pun, I tak ada masalah. Right? But the normal vibe there is, oh, Mr. Rita is scary. Because my voice is loud. Saya bukan wanita Melayu terakhir. Okay? Where, like all these wanita terakhir, they have like very soft voice. I don't have that. I'm very vocal. My voice is very loud. You are lucky that I'm not in the building of in the building, because normally lecturers will say, I know Miss Rita is around because I can hear her voice way at the end of the corridor. That's how loud I am. Okay. Right. So with that, I wish the best to all of you for your business analytics class and your other subject matters as well. And bila intern tu, intern betul-betul lah ya nanti. Masa part 6 nanti. Jangan pula intern pun main-main. Adab jaga. Okay. Alright. So thank you very much and Assalamualaikum.
Thank you again, Miss Norita. Okay, so we proceed for the photo session. Please turn on your camera. I think there is a few students still didn't turn on the camera. So please do it now. One Muhammad Haziq, use, and maybe the
Mana
rest.
ada je lah.
Kita push dulu. Okay. In my screen dia tak nampak semua. Maybe some of you have another setting. You also can take a screenshot this screen and share in our group. But I pun akan scan ni screenshot juga. Okay. Alright. So 3, 2, 1. Okay. Another snap. Okay. Freestyle ke? Okay.
Allah. Dalam ni macam mana nak freestyle?
Boleh bagi Mini Love. Okay.
Oh,
Tapi I tak
budak-budak
boleh
ni.
sebab tengah nak tekan kamera. Right. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Amira mengantuk menguap tadi. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thank you everyone. Thank you Miss Norita again for joining
Welcome.
us. Okay. Hopefully macam tadi Miss Norita dah offer you all tu kalau ada nak personal session. So you ingat senang nak dapat this quality session ni. Sebab itulah I always push you all to join this session. Since our topic for the upcoming session ni lebih mencabar, lebih tough. So I think tak perlu lagi nak main-main for this subject, okay? Because all of your assessment is quite related to chapter 5 until our last chapter. Okay? So hopefully semua dapat yang terbaik lah for this subject, okay? So I think that's all. Thank you Miss Norita. And IT student, you need to stay for a while. Okay, thank you Miss Norita.
Welcome.
Students stay ya.
Okay, bye. Assalamualaikum.
Okay, bye.
Thank you,
Waalaikumsalam.
Miss.
Thank you, Miss.
Oh, my house is open, okay? Even if you want to makan also, it's open.
Hai, Isha. Extra package.
Orang tak ada kerja kan? Kerjanya masak, apa tu suruh orang datang ambil.
Ini yang kita kata nak pahala berterusan instead of sharing the knowledge. So offer lagi extra. Okay. So jadi orang yang bermanfaat begini.
Okay, Assalamualaikum.
Alright. Okay, Waalaikumsalam. Alright. Okay, so the rest, since hari ni the session is actually for the overview of chapter 5. So that's why saya rasa the next class is not the time untuk you bermain-main, untuk saya kejar lagi attendance, untuk saya kejar lagi all tutorial. Okay, hopefully semua dah boleh fikir yang bukan kita go through chapter yang lebih senang, kita akan go through the challenging chapter lah for chapter 5 onwards. Okay, so kalau nak request extra class dengan saya ni pack dengan another class juga. So itu bukan senang lah juga untuk saya buat. So at least bila kita ada class session, itulah masa you nak bertanya, itulah masa ada problem with your Excel, kita boleh try to find the solution together kan. Bukan masa lagi nak join. Tadi pun ada few yang join lambat. Tapi tadi ada juga yang cakap dia ada banjir dekat rumah, elektrik tak ada. I bukan tak terima all this reason. I boleh terima, tapi yang masalah bila tak join langsung. Tengok dekat sini kita ada 71 student. Supposedly kita ada 80 student. Ini 71 ni tak minus lagi dengan yang join lambat tadi. Okay. So lagi 9 student, tak tahu. Bukan 9, 10 lah ni kalau tolak saya satu ni. Ya, dah 70 student. Ada lagi 10 student. So I hope that yang lain yang very committed for this subject, yang buat sendiri semua assignment and so on, you jangan tolerate dengan orang yang nak tiru you. Itu paling penting. Okay, sebab apa? Nak mengajar kawan-kawan boleh, I don't mind. Okay, ilmu boleh di-share tapi bukan untuk bagi tiru. At the end nanti, mungkin kawan you tu dia bukan tiru you je, dia tiru orang lain juga. Dalam masa sama dia pula yang dapat tinggi dari you berdua yang bagi tiru. Okay, so be selfish, it's okay. Jangan nak kesian dekat kawan-kawan. Nak tolong ajar boleh, bukan bagi tiru. Itu I nak tekankan Sebab kita dah go through first assignment, I rasa semua dah submit kot. Sebab saya tengok saya pun baru nak start marking. But for the next chapter, for the next assignment, I might pass to you the group project first. Because of the group project tu, you kena buat analysis. Okay. And for the individual assignment, which is assignment 2, individual assignment 2, this one I akan bagi lepas kita settle chapter 6. Sebab that assignment, individual assignment tu, yang tu relate dengan chapter 5 and 6. Yang group project itu you kena analyse data, kena present your data macam you punya marketing research. Okay. So tadi bila Miss Rita relate dengan, I kan pernah cakap itu pun sebenarnya you sebenarnya dah advanced level belajar di subjek. You belajar marketing research and then now you belajar business analytics. Sepatutnya banyak benda tu dah lebih clear. Tapi I faham, saya tak menekan dah. Maksudnya ada masa mungkin kita tak berapa ingat, tak berapa faham ke kan sebelum ni. Tapi dalam masa sama janganlah tak ada effort untuk you refresh again what you already learned before. Sebab this subject is quite related with your business marketing research. Okay, marketing research, your BTM subject and so on. Sepatutnya bolehlah, maksudnya you guna pakai apa yang pernah belajar sebelum ni. Okay. Alright, so untuk assignment group project tu I cuba bagi by this week lah. So you dah boleh slowly buat yang group project dulu. Because of group project tu kita ada presentation. Okay. Alright, so I think that's all. Saya tak naklah hari ni rasa macam semua, yelah you dalam kelas ni semua stres kan. Otak kena berfikir lebih sikit kan, betul tak? Ke okay? Kak Pish muka murung je Kak Pish. So I ni tak memaksa you all untuk previous session untuk turn on camera, tapi hari ni saya kena paksa lah you all sebab kita nak menjaga you depan senior lecturer. Dia pun nak tengok apa yang berlaku for the later student, dengan cakap ke tidak. Tapi it's okay lah. Hopefully lepas ni keep improvise, ingat pesanan-pesanan daripada Miss Norita tadi. Okay? Anything to say? Tak ada? Alright, so if there is no issue or question, I think that's all for today. Kita habis awal hari ni, and for class B and E2, we will continue tomorrow. Okay, thank you everyone. Bye. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.